Good evening. Welcome to Inner Journey's Thrive on Thursday. I am Reverend Dr. Suellen Miller, and I am leading the Thrive today. So let us start with prayer. Recognizing that there is only God, one power, one force that is absolutely everywhere, in and through and as everything that exists. I know that that power is God, is right here and right now, flowing through me and through each person who sees this session. I know that it is perfect in every way, that the words that come out are the words that need to be heard. The words that need to be heard are the ones that come out. It is all good, and it's divinely guided. So I give thanks for this time that we share together, knowing that it is perfect in every way. And so it is. So I had an opportunity to speak last week at the Tampa Center for Spiritual Living. And when I was setting this up with Reverend Lane, she said, you can speak on anything you want, or you could follow the theme. So I went to the website and looked up the theme, and I thought this theme sounded absolutely awesome. And I started putting my talk together about a month and a half ago, just gathering bits of information, and stuff was happening, and felt like it was okay. And then when I came to clarify with her what I was going to talk about, she's going, that does not sound like the topic for this particular week in this particular month. Are you sure that's what you want? And so I went to look, and lo and behold, I had picked the topic for December, the first week in December of 2024, instead of 2023. But I fell in love with the topic. So I am talking about standing on solid air. Okay. Standing on solid air. A 10-year-old boy looked at his mom one day, and he said, do you know what Jesus said when he came out of the tomb? And the mom looked at him and she said, no. What did Jesus say when he came out of the tomb? And the little boy went, ta-da! So there we are. A gymnast, when they are performing, they do their acrobat stuff, whatever different kind of thing it is, and then they end up with this hands in the air, ta-da, expression on their face. Now, they don't say that, but you know in their mind that that's what they're doing. Ta-da, I'm done. It's perfect. Or they hope that it's perfect at any rate. But you know, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we don't land quite as soundly as we would like. Sometimes life makes us feel like we're standing on solid air instead of solid ground. So have you ever been snow skiing? The snow makes things mushy sometimes. Skiing through powder can be beautiful, and it can be tricky as well. What about water skiing? Same kind of thing. The water it feels firmer when you're going fast, but it's not firm at all. And you know that if you let go of the rope that's pulling you when you're water skiing, that you're going to sink into the water. And I've not tried surfing. We just don't have any oceans in Oklahoma to do that. But at the same time, I know that it's the same kind of thing. Life is a flow, and we get to move through it, and we get to allow it to move through us. Our principles help us do that. So everything is created twice, once in our mind and once in form. And our thinking and our beliefs help us have a powerful influence in our lives. So the first principle that I want to talk about is the first one in the What We Believe list that's in every Science of Mind magazine. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, self-existent cause. And we can call it whatever we want. The name is unimportant. And the name can change over time as our relationship with it changes as well. An important thing to think about or to realize that there's only oneness. It shows up as all different kinds of multiplicity, just like we end up with 10 fingers that are not exactly alike, but are all part of the one, or in this case, two hands, the one body. We are within God. God is within us. And whatever the appearances are, and they can invoke feelings based on old beliefs of separation or not, we're never really separated from God. We can't be. It's closer than our breath. As we notice our fears and feelings of separation, we have the opportunity to return to the awareness of all as one. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. This Godness is more than what it creates. We see the effects of God, but we do not see God itself. Just as we see the effect of wind, but we don't see the wind itself. The second principle that gives us air to stand on is that God incarnates, takes form as people, all people. And there is a nature which he calls soul within us that is eternal and forever expanding. He says that the kingdom of heaven is within us. It's available for us to experience to the degree that we become aware of it. And that the ultimate goal of life is freedom from discord, and that everyone shall attain this. So God is not some remote principle. Rather, it's the very life of who we are. It's personal to all. We like to say that God is within us, which is true, but we are also within God. We are always within this life, love, wisdom, power, peace, beauty, and joy that is the divine beingness. And Ernest reminds us that we experience this to the degree that we become conscious of it. This particular foundational belief reminds us that we are not pathetic sinners left on a lonely planet far from the center of infinite beingness, because whatever God is, it is every point in space and time. All of God is right here, right now. We are God being God as ourselves. There's no separation. And the third point, Ernest defies some previous teachers by pointing out that all of us, through our intuition, can be revealers of truth by living in close contact with this divinity. He identifies the path of the flow of creative energy emanating from the universal spirit through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and which we are constantly surrounded by, this creative mind, which, here is the good news and the bad news part, receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. As a result of this, we believe in healing the sick and shifting conditions through the power of this mind. Now, it's not the power of my mind. It's the power of this mind that is God's mind. Interesting stuff. Now, what does it make any difference to me? What does it have to do with me? So here's the thing. On November 3rd, I fell. It was dark, 6:30 in the morning. I was at Toastmasters. This was before the time change. The outside lights were not working. And I got out of my car and went to go around the car which I don't always do, to see that I was in the parking space correctly. And I did not pick up my foot high enough to go over the curb. I face planted. Once I hit the ground, I rolled over on my back and looked up at the sky and said, "This is interesting." There really were no swear words. I didn't swear at all. So I'm laying there on my back and I reach out to my purse because I can feel that it's right there. And my nose is wet. So I get a Kleenex out of my purse and wipe my nose off. And I'm laying there and I'm checking my limbs out and they seem to be fine. And my body seems to, be working okay. I didn't lose consciousness. I didn't have any problems whatsoever with that. So I decided to sit up. And as I did, I realized that my nose is wet again. So I got another Kleenex. And sure enough, my nose is bleeding. But that's okay. I wiped it a couple times with the Kleenex. It's all right. After a couple of minutes, I got up, went and got my briefcase out of the car, and went into the Toastmasters thing. Now, when I normally get out of the car, Toastmasters, I get my briefcase, but I didn't do that this time. And people said to me, if you'd have gotten your briefcase, it might have broken your fall a bit. It might have. That's true. And it had a cup of coffee in it with a top that didn't seal tightly, so that if I had fallen on that, there would have been coffee all over every single thing in that briefcase. It would have been a mess. The briefcase would probably be ruined. Ick. So I thought I did a good job by accidentally forgetting it in the car. Anyway, all God. Works out perfectly. As I walk into the Toastmasters meeting, there were two people already there. And they took one look at me and went, "Ah," and essentially freaked out. But it wasn't very long before other people came in and they began to get first aid kits out of their car, clean me up. I was really a big scratch on my face and beginning to bruise, etc. And my glasses were so scuffed that it felt like velvet. The plastic had tiny little clumps standing up. It was scratched on the sidewalk so badly. Couldn't see out of the center of the glass at all. And so in this meeting, and everybody's going, "Oh, do you want to go home? You want to drive home?" And I'm looking at it and going, I can't see out of my glasses. They are scratched. But when the sun comes up and it's light, I can drive home because I have bifocals in the car, trifocal sunglasses in the car. So I sat there at the Toastmasters meeting. Now, we do have a member of our Toastmasters club that is a doctor. And she came in and looked at my eyes and said, okay, gave the symptoms of concussion and said, watch out for these, etc. And several people said, "Do you want to go to the emergency room?" And I'm going, "No, I don't need to go to the emergency room. I feel fine. Other than my face is swollen and icky, I feel fine." After the meeting, and I stayed and did my part in the meeting, I got in my car, and it was easier to drive to work than it would have been to drive home. This is just 2 roads altogether, 3, I guess. So I did that, walked in at work, and they're going, "What happened to you?" And I laughed and told the story and did my work and left early. So for the next couple of days, I really paid attention to whether or not I had a concussion, and I did not. I didn't even have a tendency to want to sleep, which is usually what I want to do in the afternoon. But I did not. I kept saying, "I feel good. I feel fine. I feel okay. I'm okay." And I would be that way until somebody came along with a story about somebody else who had fallen and had some bad thing happen as a result of that fall. And then every time one of those negative stories came up, I noticed that my mind would go to, what if they're right? What if you needed to go to the doctor? What if? But I kept telling myself, I'm fine. I feel good. I'm standing on my principle that God is all there is, that God is not uncomfortable, that God is taking care of every cell and fiber of my being always. and then I'm okay. Eventually, I did call my ear, nose, and throat doctor and said, I just wanted to let you know that I fell. And he said, oh, you need to come into the office right away. We'll see you this afternoon at 2:30 or whatever it was. So I went to the doctor and he made arrangements for me to have a CT scan, which I did. And I did apparently break my nose just a tiny little bit, not enough to need surgery. And I did not have any other contusions or problems with the rest of my face. There was no skull fracture, nothing. Now, I was pretty bruised for several days, but bruises heal, as you can tell. And now I just have this little scratch here and this little scratch here. Not a problem at all. I stood fast in my air, standing on those thoughts that God is all there is and that healing is possible to me, always. We believe in the healing of the sick and shifting of the conditions through the power of the mind of God. And if anyone asks, I know that that knock on the head did something really positive in my mind, in my brain. I don't know what yet, but something really good is going to come out of that I have not been aware of. And I don't think it's going to be instant healing of me. There could be instant healing for somebody else, but so far I don't think it's instant healing for me, though I have healed very quickly. So I went to Orrin Lee Peters' memorial service on the 20th of October. So this was going into this talk before the fall happened. But the fall was so perfect for standing on air. Anyway, I went to Orrin Lee's memorial service on the 20th of October in 2023. He was 102, so it was not like it was unexpected. He had lived a long, full life. And the service was fairly typical as far as services go, at least as far as Presbyterian services go. There was a gathering before the service, and people talked. Then we had the service, and then there was a gathering after the service. In the service itself, Reverend Mitch Miller did a short piece, and no relation, sorry about that. There were songs by the grandchildren. There was a reading of the obituary by a different grandchild. And then one of the sons got up to do remarks. And no one else told stories or even had an opportunity to. But he did tell a couple of stories that I remember and that I want to turn around and relate to you. And the first of these stories had to do with when Orrin Lee was in Korea for World War II. I don't remember which. And he was pinned down. I would say World War II. I think he was in Africa, and his platoon was pinned down in a particular place, and he didn't think they were going to get out of it at all. So he's standing there or sitting there, whatever he's doing, praying, going, okay, God, if this is what my life is going to be, if this is the end of my life, I'm okay with that. But if there's anything that you want me to do with the rest of my life, you're going to have to do something to help me get out of this situation, because I can't do it. But if there is something else for me to do, that I will do it with all my energy and all my power and all my devotion to whatever it is that you want me to do. Well, of course, he died at 102, so you know that the American bombers came in and took care of all the enemy, and they were rescued. And I've heard Orrin Lee tell that story a couple of different times, and it was slightly different each time he told it, but it doesn't really matter. The idea here is if there's something left for me to do, I'll do it with all my energy and all my devotion, all my strength. Then the son, Michael, told another story about going camping. Now, these were going camping in old-fashioned camping. So the tent was canvas. There were no sleeping bags. There were only bedrolls. There was no ground cover per se, particularly other than the canvas, extra piece of canvas. And they cooked over a campfire, not a camp stove, but over a campfire. And I can't imagine, I mean, I'm not a camping person anyway, but I can't imagine doing it the rough way like they did. So they go camping. And you would think maybe they would get to sleep in a little bit when they're camping, but oh no, that was not the case. Because every morning, Orrinley would get up and he would walk over to the edge of the camp where the sun was beginning to rise. And he would go, "Oh, what a beautiful morning." And the son, who's giving the story, who sings probably as badly as I do, said that there was no sleeping at all after we've been awakened by this singing the song of Orrinley. Now you're going, okay, Suellen, what the heck does that have to do with anything? Well, after the service, I'm standing in the lobby. I'm talking to a Toastmaster friend of mine and his 12-year-old daughter, who comes to Toastmasters every time she has an opportunity. And that may mean that she's there once a month, maybe when school or when they have school holidays or all summer long, but she comes regularly. And she walks up to me and says, "So what did you get out of the service?" And I'm thinking to myself, she's 12. What is she asking me about what I got out of the service? So I told her briefly what I got. And one of the things that I got was I liked the story about being rescued and him promising to God that he would give all his strength and all his energy and all his devotion to whatever it was that God had him to do. And I really liked the story that you start every day with, "Oh, what a beautiful morning." So those are the two things that I got out of the story. Now you're wondering, okay, what does that mean to me? So I can stand on solid ground. I can say, "Ta-da," when I get up in the morning and I say, "Here I am, God. Use me. Help me be all that I can be. Help me be the very best person I can be. Because it is a beautiful morning. Ta-da!" And so it is. Now let me take this into prayer. Recognizing that there is only God, one power, one creative force, everywhere present, that is God, that is in and through and as everything that exists. I know this power is God. I know it is right here. I know it is in every breath. I know that it is absolutely awesome. And so I am in the place of recognizing that I am of this God stuff. And there is that within me which knows, that within me which answers the call of what it is that's mine to do. And so I can get up every morning and say, "Here I am, God. Use me to do what is mine to do today. Use me. Help me be the very best that I can be. Know that I am all that I can be. And I will be and do my absolute best to be there with all my strength and all my energy and all my joy and all my gratitude, because I absolutely know today is a beautiful day." And so it is. Amen. Ta-da! Wow. Since I'm the only one on this call at the moment, I'm going to say, if you have questions, if you have answers, if you have thoughts, I don't know how you can share them other than electronically. But if you would like to make a contribution, you can go to inner-journey.org to the website and donate from the website. There is a donate button, or you could text 405-337-9700 639. And we appreciate your donations. Knowing that it is all God and God is always good, I give thanks. And so it is. Blessed be to all of you.